There's a lot of people that get stuck in grief, and that does become their identity. It does become who they are. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to figure out how to still strive in this life and to thrive. Most days, and I may have tears, and I'll go on and have a great rest of the day.
You know how sometimes you might feel like you face some adversity in life, and then you hear a story like the one I'm about to share, and you wonder, how is this person still breathing? And not just breathing, but seeking to thrive and committed to a purpose of helping others overcome and thrive too. It's a unique individual who is able to rise from ashes. But that is the woman I'm about to introduce you to. Maureen Yarborough acknowledges that her family's story is hard to hear. But I hope you'll hang with us until the end, because it is also a story full of love and grace and hope. Welcome, Maureen Yarborough.
Hello, Maureen. Welcome to the Lessons from Living.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, thanks for being here. In many ways, it seems that your life has been shaped by profound loss. Can you tell us about some of that?
I think that my life has certainly been impacted by profound loss. And one of the things that we have done, I think, my husband and my daughter, is to work for that not to define us. So we actually, I thought, we're a pretty normal family. My husband and I have been married over 30 years and have 3 children and 2 boys and a girl. And our oldest son was kind of our free spirit, for sure. He had a daughter that was kind of a surprise for us, but he made the best of that. And she was really a beautiful, unexpected blessing, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
She was a healthy, beautiful baby girl. And when she was 7 months old, she did not wake up one Saturday morning.
Oh.
And so and that happened in November of 2019. So that was our first real heavy experience with grief, for sure. Our story is a hard story to hear. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
So 88 days after Charlie died, that was his daughter's name, Andy was killed in a car accident. So that was in February of 2020. So right before the pandemic, we were thankful that we could have our people around us. And really, I think watching Andy navigate the loss of his own child was different. And when he died, it was almost as if a priest at the funeral said, he's with his daughter, which is reassuring, for sure.
Sure.
And then, 2 years ago, our middle son committed suicide. And he was 24. And really, it was a surprise.
Take your time, Maureen.
We hadn't expected that. And he was an all-American looking kid, popular, had everything going for him. So that was hard to take. The accident, we've experienced really tragic losses in 3 different ways. And I can tell you, they all suck.
I'm sure.
My husband, Joe, and I had been married, be 33 years in a couple weeks. And our daughter is 21, and she's at school in Arkansas. And really, we all do pretty well with this. Definitely have moments like you saw, because it's still unbelievable to me. Sometimes I walk to my house and I think, I can't believe this has happened. So
I can't imagine. And I'm so sorry for your losses, your many losses.
yes, thank you.
I like the delineation you made between you're having this define who you are and having it impact you. Thank you for making that distinction there. I was talking with you about how an interview like this can help someone. And I do feel like one of the groups that I keep thinking about that's just kind of laid on my heart is those people who've been impacted by suicide. Because as you point out, it's a different kind of loss. I know in my own family, my mother's father committed suicide before she was born. And so she was, this is almost confusing to understand, but she was in utero. My grandmother was pregnant with her when her dad committed suicide. And so you think of that and think, well, it wouldn't have likely impacted my mom because she never knew her father. But what was so strange about that situation was it profoundly impacted her life. And a lot of it was due to the fact that there was much more stigma attached to suicide at that point in time. And so there was no conversation about what had happened for tiny little children who were all impacted by this and didn't talk about it. And they didn't even have their first conversation about it until I was in college. So, and I don't think they would have if I hadn't insisted, you guys need to talk about this. But they were in their 60s and 70s at that point. I just see it as an action where it's like there's a wake behind it and there's these ripples that radiate out. And something that I think you've done so beautifully is been aware of how it's impacted other people outside of your own immediate family. I know you've talked about that. That's amazingly compassionate and sensitive of you. What are your thoughts just in thinking about these things?
Just grief is a hard road, period, no matter if it's a spouse or a child or a parent, a friend, it's hard. And I think that just knowing that it does impact other people. I mean, Tommy had a lot of people that loved him, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that your brother-in-law knew Tom, and that's
Sure.
how we got connected. And I think it was a shock and a surprise to so many people. When it happened, this was the third funeral, really, that we had planned. And shockingly, you kind of get in a rhythm of the way that things are going to go. The parish priest in the area where we had the funeral, he had known that this funeral was going to take place in his church, and he didn't realize that it was a place that he frequented going to when he found out that that was the time that funeral that his parish was going to host. He was so shocked and so surprised. So he ended up doing the mass with our priest, which was really cool. But when he walked in that place, I think of him, I think about even the priests that have to come, the people that have to come and talk to. I said, I don't know how Father Ben had the courage to walk up the steps to our house that second time. And when Father Mike had found out, he went into the place where Tommy worked and they told him. And the impact on a lot of and his friends. Ollie had fantastic friends. And one of them, actually, I said our anniversary is in a couple weeks. And his best friend is getting married on her anniversary.
Wow.
Which is both beautiful and hard.
Yes.
And his fiance came over for dinner and they asked us if they could make him an honorary groomsman.
Oh, what an honor. That's really sweet.
It is.
Yeah. I know you said that this whole conversation about people who commit suicide as being selfish is really troubling to you, because Tommy wasn't selfish. I didn't know him, obviously, but it sounds like he was the exact opposite of that.
Well, actually, at his funeral, that is what Father Ben talked about, really, when he gave his homily that day. He talked about altruism, and it was true. Tommy was very soft, and it seems like so complicated to think about, because
Right.
it seems so selfish. But, and maybe sometimes it is. I think there are different things, reasons why people do such things. But I don't think that Joe, my husband, or our daughter, his sister, felt like it was selfish. I don't think any of his friends felt that way.
Mhm.
I still don't understand.
Right.
And that is something that I'll probably wrestle with forever. Because you go back and forth, really just asking why. And sometimes I can accept that I just won't know until we meet again.
Yeah.
And sometimes, but then, golly, you still want to know why, or you still
Sure.
just wonder what could have been different.
Right. You did say that he didn't want to go for help. And that's often the case with these folks, that even given the means to reach out, the statistics are that they don't. And given that, how do you think we can help these people? Do our words matter? I mean, if you had the opportunity to speak to someone who is teetering on the edge, would you try to say something?
I think I've listened to a lot of Navy SEALs that, there's a lot of people in the military, they have a high rate of suicide.
Yes.
So I've listened to some of them who talk about it. I listened to an interview with Bill Maher and Billy Joel recently, and they both talked about thinking about it when they were college age. And so I found that interesting. I think people must think about it more than we realize. And I think we all wanted to say the right words at the right time. I played cards with him, I guess, the night that happened. And it was just the two of us, and we were talking about life, and he was talking about moving in with his friends and buying a new car, and he was interviewing for jobs. So it was so strange. And he talked to his best friends that night on the phone. But I don't think it was a moment reaction. It was something he had thought about, I think, for a long time. And that's what I don't think that you realize. So, or that was something we didn't know until see things in his phone. And he did leave us a note. And he knew how much it would hurt us. He knew how much we had already suffered. And, what Joe and Olivia and I talked about, I think that next day or whenever, was just like, I can't imagine being in that place. I mean, even with all we've been through, I can't imagine being in that place. And I think that just as we can't imagine being so hopeless or not seeing that life is going to get better or change or whatever it is, he could figure out how to not be in that place. So I think that's the compassion. And I think we all have felt like that with it.
Right. I know you said that he felt shame. It sounded like he felt shame for reaching that place of desperation, and you believe that those feelings were from evil spirits that prey on us and get into the crevices of our weaknesses. And I know you talked another time about how in some ways we've let our children down because there's an actual battle for souls going on here, and that we're focusing on trivial things in a lot of cases while our kids are being spiritually ambushed.
I mean, then there's no question about that. I look at Mass after Mass at the end, every week we say the prayer to St. Michael, the archangel, defend us in battle,
Mm-hmm.
protect us from evil spirits,
Yeah.
because there are people who prey on our children in so many
Right.
different ways. And I think that we just didn't realize, you just don't realize the things that they have to deal with. I think that integrity and goodness and being a stand-up guy and doing this used to be something that was aspired to and that you respected. And really, there's so much just mean-spiritedness and just competition and just so much focus on things that are not just doing the right thing. There's so many temptations. It's everywhere.
Yeah. Is there a way that we can help them navigate those dark forces that are out there, do you think?
Well, I mean, for me, it's definitely faith. And I think that I have gotten so much solace from reading the Bible or listening to the
Mhm.
Bible. I listen to it every day. I think that really is your armor in so many ways. And Tommy, I want to say, like, there were times where he did go see counselors. So he did do that. And actually, there were a couple that he saw. He saw the counselor that I see for grief. And then he had seen one before when he was struggling with just anxiety. I went and saw both of them. After both of them were shocked completely. I mean, you know how you can tell when someone is
Sure.
shocked, like the rug pulled out from under them. So I don't know. Suicide is as old as time. It's throughout the Bible in so many different instances. So I don't know that we can ever have the impact we want to on someone else. You know, I do think, because gosh, there's 100 people I could name that would have done anything for Tom.
Oh, sure.
Really. And we all think that we can be the savior and we can be the one. And I think that's where we're trying to be God, and we're not.
Yes.
So I don't know what I would, if someone were teetering on the edge, what would I say to them? I would say, hang on. And I would say that your struggles are, or the cross you're carrying, or whatever it is that you think is too much, that you can't handle, is something that God is trusting you with to handle. Perhaps it's for someone else's benefit. Maybe it's not you, but maybe it's you can be that beacon on the hill for someone else. Which is, I think, what our job is.
Yes. So your instruction or your idea about faith, of course, is probably critical as far as combating the dark forces too that we were talking about. That's a good point. It sounds like it's played a huge role in your life moving forward. You talked about reading the Bible. You have kind of a protocol in the morning, right? That you begin each and every day with. Tell us about that.
Well, really, I've always been a morning person. When my kids were little, if they came running to the bed and woke me up, it was like chaos because Tommy woke up on a 10. Andy was a little more ease into the day, and Olivia's just chilled, period. But Tommy was just a spirited. I just always knew that I had to be up first to kind of get my head right for the day. So when Andy died, I would pray every morning. I've always been faithful to help my kids process what we had been through. So I would pray every morning, and then I would make a post on my social media. It was really for my kids and for Andy's friends and for our extended family, cousins, and just processing. Because everybody wants to know how you're doing.
Sure.
And I kind of wanted to just we were going to be okay. One of the first counselors I went to the Center for Good Grief, which in Memphis is a wonderful place that you can go and get help with navigating grief. And anyway, one of the counselors, she asked me what I wanted from those sessions. And I said, I want to figure out how to be okay. And she just said, then you will. And I thought, that's interesting because there's still a lot of life to live. There really is. And there's a lot to look forward to with Olivia and with Joe and with travel and friends and business and all of those things. So it is trying to figure out, okay, how do I do that? And at the same time, I can't ignore what has happened to us either. So it is really trying to figure out how to be good here until we get there. So anyway, I started the mornings with that. And I just continued on. So I listened to the Bible in a year, and I listened to the one with Father Mike. And there's so much that I grew up Catholic, so we didn't memorize verses. We'd go to church on Sunday and listen. And I think that has been really great for me because I do feel like it's just my own processing. And through those stories and through those hardships, it has helped me. And then when I post, I always feel like it's like as if the Holy Spirit just comes through me.
You mentioned that whatever you are lacking, you think can be found in the Bible, whether it's peace, success, fulfillment, adventure, strength, wisdom. Have you always believed that, or do you think this is kind of a new revelation after getting into this rhythm of really studying it?
I think the purpose of life has certainly changed for me. I own a business. I've had success there. My husband has a nice career. We've gotten to go on the vacation, live in a nice house, and provide for our kids and all. And we trade it all.
Yeah.
So I think that the purpose of life, and this is where my head and my heart struggle, is if the purpose of life is to get to heaven, then the tears shouldn't come because they're fine.
But you're human.
But I'm human.
Maureen.
But sometimes I can live in that space. And that's what I think the faith helps me reading. And that stuff helps me to not be so attached to this world.
And as far as the prayer goes, I know you said if you were praying for outcomes, you would have no faith left because you haven't gotten, in many instances, the outcomes that you want. So how has your prayer changed, do you think?
Well, actually, my mom's group, we talked about this at dinner the other night, actually, because we prayed for whatever outcome for our children. People have lost their children to addiction. Some people have lost their children to battles with cancer. Some people have lost their children to a no health heart defect or something. So they didn't get the answers they prayed for. And so we talked about trusting God. God, I trusted you. I trusted you for the outcome we want. And then you're a little bit afraid to trust again. Because I guess some of them express that. I wasn't afraid to trust again. Because I don't know what I would do without my faith. I don't know how you find joy. There's a lot of people that get stuck in grief. And that does become their identity. It does become who they are. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to figure out how to still strive in this life and to thrive. Most days, and I may have tears, and I'll go on and have a great rest of the day. It's still, but my prayer has changed to use me in whatever way, because I do think I heard a valedictorian speech for a high school student a few years ago. It went viral on YouTube. Golly, what a wise young man. He was talking about I don't know if it was like the 13th second. It might have been, I'm probably saying the wrong time frame. But he was talking about like he made up his mind that he was going to become the valedictorian. And he worked his tail off. And he did it. And so he got this opportunity to speak. And he said it felt good for about 12 seconds.
Mm.
And then after that's over, it's like, okay, what are you going to do with that 13th second? It's like all the accolades and stuff, they feel good when you achieve it. But then if you don't have a higher purpose, then it's empty. It really does become empty. And so I think about that as I've gotten older and been through all of this. I do believe that we are fishers of men, that we really are called to bring as many people on this journey of faith as we can.
Mm-hmm.
And I find people who are humble in their faith and who struggle with it the most easy for me to follow, for sure.
Sure.
So,
That makes sense.
well, I listen to, when talking about suicide, there is a podcast. I don't know if you've heard of Sean Ryan. He has a really great podcast, and he does very long format interviews with people. He talked about how he was those Navy SEALs are badass. He's this really tough guy, and he got out of his tours, and he really went to the dark side went to South America and worked for some cartels and insecurity and made a lot of money, but it was bad. He was in a bad path with a lot of bad people. And he came back home, and he was really just floundering. And he and his wife were on a trip to Arizona, and he was really thinking about ending his life. And he said, it was as if an angel just talked to him. And he said he could read his whole mind right then. So anyway, it changed the trajectory of his life, where he really started searching and figuring out what this God, he grew up, I think he was Catholic as he was growing up in faith, but then fell away from the church and really getting back. And I find listening to him as someone who's searching, I think he touches so many people through his own story.
Yes.
Because he has found this purpose. He has found this searching and gathering. And I think he brings people along.
You were talking about trusting God. Certainly, no one would blame you if you blew him off and turned away from your faith. But you said that you've made a choice, a very specific choice. Why do you feel like you have made that choice, like intentionally made a choice to lean into your faith as opposed to away?
Well, I think it would be punishing me more if I didn't have faith. I don't want to punish myself anymore. I think faith is just finding joy and strength and courage through whatever adversity. My prayer definitely has changed to use me and also guide me. I think so much of our lives, we think we have agency over it, which we do in some ways for sure. But I think what I've really tried to do these last couple of years is to say yes to the opportunities that come in front of me. Because I think that's God putting things in my path. Before, I think I chased things more, or I felt like I had to find things. And now, one day I was praying, God, show me what I'm supposed to do with it. I do feel like we have things to share. At Tommy's funeral, I did say, I don't know why all of these things have happened to us, but I do feel like God is going to use us just in our story of continuing, just as he's used my boys in their death. I didn't anticipate that would be how he used. But
Right.
everybody experiences hardship, loss, and struggle.
Mhm. Did you say that you feel like your relationship with God is better now than at any point in your life?
Well, what I think is different is, golly, this has been a long time ago when my kids were in grade school, but they went to a Catholic school early on. My oldest one went all the way through 8th grade at this school. Anyway, I was talking to the principal there, and it used to really annoy me because I grew up in Kansas City. We moved to Memphis, and here it's like when I first moved here, people would ask me all the time, "Have you been saved? Have you been saved?" It was like, what is with this question? Do I look like I haven't been saved? But I was having a conversation with this principal. I was like, I never had that thing where I was fishing when I was 13 years old, or some lightning bolt came down and was like, "You're saved." I just didn't ever have that moment. And this principal, in her wisdom, said, "Your parents gave you the gift of faith from the day you were born." And it was true. We were baptized as infants. And so I always had this faith. But I think that what I didn't understand growing up is what it meant to have a relationship with God. And really, there was a time where the church that we were going to, I wasn't getting a whole lot of, and my kids weren't getting a whole lot out of it. So I went and I talked to a priest at another parish far, far away, kind of told him what my struggles were. And he said to me, "If you're going to church on Sunday and you think that's having faith and that's your relationship, you got it all wrong." I was like, okay. But it kind of made me mad. But at the same time, it also planted that seed that it was up to me to have this relationship and having my own practice for what that faith looked like. And for me, listening to that Bible in a year, catechism a year, whatever I'm listening to, I think it's called the living word because it is talking directly to you at whatever point or whatever you're going through. And so it's like whatever you're getting out of it is what he's talking directly to. But there's
Right.
things I don't understand sometimes, and that's okay.
Yeah. Well, that was my thought, that you are investing so much time and energy in this now. I saw this billboard yesterday on a church that said, "Don't expect $1 million answer from 10-cent prayers." And I thought, that is so true. We want to put in the minimum amount of work and then have these expectations that my needs are going to be met.
Well,
So,
I think that's like kind of thinking that God is like Santa Claus too, that you pray to them
Yes.
and that you're going to get the things that you pray for. And that I think has been the lesson that I have had to learn to trust that he's going to give me the things that I need to just still thrive no matter what. As Paul says, count it all joy. Was he sitting in jail? Like it's all
Right.
good. And that's like having that childlike faith that I think that people want, but they don't know how to get it.
Right. Yes. Do you feel like now, having experienced really parents' worst nightmare, this is like what parents dread most, is there anything that you fear now? Like, do you fear death?
Oh, definitely don't fear death. We were laughing about this the other night too, because Joe and I got caught in that tornado in Nashville. We were at a wedding and the tornado came right through the golf club that we were at the reception. And everybody's in the basement. Sirens are going off. There's no electricity, no TV. And Joe and I looked at each other and we both were like, well, this could be it. And I was like, are you scared? He was like, no. Are you scared? I was like, no. And then we both kind of were like, it would suck for Olivia. Like, that would really suck if she had to go through this too.
Yeah.
But
Indeed.
this has cured me of a fear of death.
Hmm.
But, like, do I still fear? I mean, I still get anxious over certain things. Nothing really bothers. Like, there are inconveniences that come up for sure, and irritations and that kind of stuff, but nothing like that I get worked up about.
Mm-hmm.
Because we had our pipes burst in our house last year. And Joe's like, seriously, we had to move out of our house for 5 months. And
Oh my goodness.
yes. And it was like, do you know whose door you're knocking on? Joe's like, but it not have been like something, you wouldn't wish that on anybody else, but
I know.
wrong house.
But I get what he's saying.
Yeah.
I mean, how much can a family bear, right? You talk about allowing yourself to receive help, and that you could have, having gone through all of this, shut yourself away and never been heard from again. And thankfully, your closest friends just appeared. But you encourage us to receive help when you find yourself in need. And I just relate to this so much. This is me because I went through breast cancer, and it was really the first time in my life when I received help. And it's not because I wanted it.
Right?
I could not function without help. And that is not receiving help gracefully. I don't even think it counts. Why do you think we have trouble allowing people to help us?
I like being the helper. Golly, I
Mhm.
think about all the meals that I made for people. And I don't make meals anymore for any, very rarely. I'll stop and pick something up, give it to them. But I liked being the one to be the helper. And I think we don't like to see ourselves as needing the help. Or for me, I did. But I also knew that so many people want to do something. They really do. Grief is a funny thing. People want to help, want to just take that burden from you. And I think that I realized that it was a gift that they were trying to give me. And I've said before, if I could have cut up grief into a million little pieces, I would have had people to pass it off to, but it doesn't work like that. But I do think that them coming, and I prayed a lot in the days right after. I prayed a lot for grace for myself to be able to accept whatever people were offering. Because I think you can get into that just putting out and not allowing them to take some of it from you.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have received grace in spades, from what I can tell. I know another thing you talk about is listening to other parents talk about their kids, what they're looking forward to. It just has to be, I just can't even imagine, because your grief is, it will be endless probably. And then there's these kind of cruel reminders. And yet you said, you have the grace to say, you can't expect others to anticipate how you will feel or what it's like to wish you still had those dreams and events to come. I just can't. It's amazing to me that those words come out of your mouth, given this situation.
Well, I want to still celebrate. I want to be happy for other people.
Yes.
You know, I want that for myself. I don't want to be a person that begrudges someone else that joy.
Yeah.
But I do get jealous sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I do miss what's to come. I just saw someone who posted about their son's birthday, what would have been their son's birthday. And she talked about just, she envisions what his life might have been like. And I thought, I don't do that. I don't do that. I know what I'm missing. Maybe I do it a little bit when I think about what should be, but I don't envision what his life would be like. Because I think that would be too hard for me. But I don't know.
It's part of finding your joy.
It's
sounds
part of
like,
finding
too.
your joy. And I do think I read a biography of Mother Teresa, and I thought that was really insightful. Here she was, this little Indian woman or Armenian, actually, I think, who just went to just worst places in the world, like true poverty, true stench, true suffering.
Mhm.
And her job was to bring joy there. Her job was to do, like, she felt like that all the nuns, the sisters in her order, like, don't do whatever chore you're doing, whether it's cleaning the toilet, mopping the floors, or tending to someone who just is in horrible squalor, to do it with joy, to do it with a joyful spirit. And I thought, that's so true. I mean, think about how people complain about their jobs, whatever they have to do. And I do think that that's where the joy comes from the Lord, that
Mhm.
we can do anything, the joyful spirit. And I do think that that's what we're called to.
Mhm. When you talk about being changed spiritually, I know you mentioned that your purpose has changed. Are there other ways that you've changed as well, having walked this walk?
Probably everything changes in your life, nothing changes. You're still the same person, but I'm sure I've changed. Like, I feel like I've aged a lot these last few years. I probably didn't know there were as many tears possible
Mhm.
to cry, but I still have a sense of humor. I still think
Mhm.
things are funny, but then I think things aren't funny too. I'm probably more sensitive to other people. And I've had to say to some people sometimes, consider your audience and do you want to trade? I've said that a couple of times. It's really from perspective. I went to confession, and this I thought was so funny. A couple times these priests have given me blinding wake-up calls. I struggle sometimes feeling jealous of other people. He talked about, like, you've heard the saying where if everybody puts their own problems in a paper bag and throws them all together and they get someone else's problem, they would wish that they got their own problems back. So that's what he said to me. And I was like, did you hear what I said? Like, did you hear that I've said I buried my granddaughter and two of my sons? I think people would be pretty pissed off if they got my bag.
Yes. Man.
But it did make me think, yes, I don't want. So it did make me get out of my own head and say, hello, you're not the only one. And I think that was his point, to say.
Yes. Well, you mentioned compassion. I don't see how you could go through something like this without developing a huge pool of compassion. And following you, you talk about your business that it sounds like you're killing it. You've had it 20 years now. You've had accolades, awards, and yet your comment was you care much more what the people inside the building think of than the ones outside. I love that. I think it's very rare for an employer to have such deep care for their employees. That's a special breed. Speak about that, just how the depth of feeling you have for the people you work with, the people around you.
Well, I think that we spend so much time with people that we work with. We really do. And like you said, I've had this company for 20 years. I started it in my dining room with me, myself, and I. And so we've grown and evolved for sure. I've never wanted to try to pretend I was something. So I never tried to pretend to have all the answers. I'm a hard worker, and I took opportunities, and maybe I didn't really know what I was doing, but I learned along the way. And eventually I had employees. I would say there were times where I probably was not a great leader. In fact, I know I wasn't a great leader. I didn't know how to lead a business, but I always wanted the people that worked inside the business. Sometimes I think that my fear of failure or of not being able to meet payroll or give the bonuses or whatever that I wanted to, I think that some of those concerns came across as striving to be better because I wanted to be able to take care of my people. But as I have grown, I didn't want to walk in this building and be on eggshells. There's businesses where you walk in, the boss comes in, all hell breaks loose. I've been fortunate through all of this that I've had really great people who've worked along the way, even if they were here for a short while or whatever. There was something good that came out of their time here. And my hope was always that I could provide a place for them to grow so that I didn't want to always be losing people or just so focused on my own profits that they didn't have a place to grow too. So it's a good place to walk into. There's not chaos. I mean, it can be chaotic at times, but everybody is considerate of everyone else. And I can remember one time we had some squabbles going on or whatever. And I used to teach school 30 whatever years ago. And I can remember this one morning going, okay, before we leave, you have to say something that you appreciate about the person next to you. And it really changed everything. It was like everybody was getting on each other's nerves. And I remember doing that in my classroom. Like, what can you say about, there's some kids that they get all the accolades and then there's some that get none. So it was just going around and everybody has something that you can appreciate. And I've always told my team that everyone here is the most important person to whatever you're doing at one particular time, whether it's answering the phone or making the signs or installing the sign. We can't do it without the other people.
That's well said. Well, I definitely want to talk about Joe before we go. One of the things that you mentioned is that marriages often don't survive child loss. It sounds like you must have had a pretty strong marriage before going through all of this. But what do you think has gotten you all through it together?
You know what? Not having expectations I never expect. I am so appreciative that he let me, if he sees me crying or whatever, he doesn't try to fix it. And he'll just come and put his arm around me. And sometimes he'll ask me, sometimes he won't, why I'm crying. And I haven't asked him. Like, I haven't said, you need to go to counseling or you need to do this. He told me when Andy died, he said, I can't help you. I don't know how to. And that was probably good. I think that we both know our limitations. And I think we've given each other space. For me, I wear my emotions on my sleeves and always have. And for him, I can tell he might be struggling when he gets short. He might get short. But that doesn't happen very often. And we just done things together. I think we've just been compassionate to each other. And even Olivia, too. I think this is going to make me cry, too.
It's okay.
Olivia came. She was away at school. And so we had to get her home pretty much in the night. And I think she and I were sitting in this chair together. And I just looked at her and said, I'm so sorry you have to go through this. And she just looked right back at me and she said, I'm so sorry you have to go through.
Aww.
And actually, Ken's really passionate. Days before Tommy died, I had my mom screwed out of my house, which the person who normally this is the moms who've lost children screwed. And the person who normally had it was going to be out of town or something. So I offered to have it. And it was February, it was cold, but it was a nice night. And so we have a big fire pit out back. So I asked Tommy if he'd start the fire for me out there, and he did. And I figured he'd go upstairs, but just leave all these ladies to chit chat. And he ended up sitting out back with our group the entire night. And I thought, how strange. And one of my friends asked him, she said, gosh, it must be really hard to lose your sibling. And he said to her, it's not nearly as hard.
No.
And I think for him, because these group of women, they're funny, they're put together, and they've been through a lot. And I felt like him just out there he knew I had my people.
Yes.
That was a gift.
Yes. He sounds remarkable. We're almost there, Maureen. You've got me.
This is going to be your uplifting.
There's a lot uplifting in
Well,
there.
I will say there are some funny things.
Okay.
Well, as I said, the third time around, it was like you kind of had a rhythm for people coming to your house, and which is so bizarre to say. But I think about the number of people I've hugged in these last few years. Oh my gosh, I've hugged 1 million people. Joe and I never got COVID, which kind of cracks me up because we have been in close.
You're immunized.
But the last time I can remember every person I would hug, I would be like, okay, she has fake boobs. She has real ones. Reflect. I should not be thinking this. Like, what? Going through my head.
I'm like, you're good. We might have to talk about this after. And so that I don't even know how to differentiate that. That's hilarious.
Well, it was
Maureen.
bizarre. It's like, I do think sincerely, like, I don't have the answers. I've had people reach out to me if their own children or friend or someone they're worried about. And I wish I could give them what they need. I don't have the answers. We didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have an answer for seeing the signs and all of that stuff.
Sure.
But I have been able to help someone if they have experienced this. I have a friend who had a tragedy happen just recently, and I've been able to tell her the truth. Like, this is a hard road, but you're not going to get over it. You're not even going to get through it, but you're going to learn how to carry it.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to learn how, and everything changes. Some friends will, it's not because you don't want this, it's just your life has changed so much. We have things in common with other friends, or it's like you still have those old friends too, but it just changes. Everything changes.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been able to help with that. When I've had friends that have reached out to me that know someone, and I can talk to them in a way that just other friends can't understand. And I think expecting your friends to understand what you've been through is unrealistic. And it's really not fair to them because they cannot possibly know how it feels.
Yeah.
You can't. And I wouldn't want anyone to. Like, I can't describe it.
Right. That makes sense. Well, I imagine just knowing that you will survive, that you will be able to carry this is the most critical thing that you could say to someone. So that's a gift in and of itself, even if you feel like you don't have answers. Maureen, I typically ask, we've covered so much here, so I typically ask my guest if after all you've been through, if there's a life lesson that rises to the top for you. And I don't even know how you would prioritize. You've learned a lot in a short period of time, I'm sure. But is there one that supersedes all?
For this life, about the next. And I think that has been hammered home to us over and over again. So I think it makes everything around you that's happening, either politically or financially or whatever, it makes it more bearable, I suppose, less of a big deal as we make it out to
Yes.
be. Because listening to the Bible and history, there's been tumultuous times, there's been hard times, and people have found a way through it.
Right.
And we're all going to be forgotten.
Right.
You know? I mean, really.
Great. Yeah. Good wisdom. And the last time I talked to you, you said you were toying with the idea of starting a podcast. You'd worked on it a little bit with a friend.
Yes.
Have you made any progress
We
there?
are ready to. We have not published it yet, but we're just about to publish. We wanted to get some in our library first.
Okay.
It's called Make It Make Sense
Okay.
with Dr. Mary McDonald and Maureen Yarborough.
Great.
So, and Mary is someone who has been a mentor to me for several years, and she's just got such wisdom and really helped me navigate some tricky things that we've been through. And so I thought the world needed her wisdom. When we've always had these lively, funny conversations. So it really is, she was the superintendent of schools here for years, brought all the Jubilee schools for the Catholic schools here to light the inner city. And so she's had a lot of experiences and just a great opportunity to share some of that as they're navigating. We said helping you navigate the messiness of life with grace, because
Okay.
life is messy.
Indeed. Well, that's great. Okay. I'm glad we got the name in then.
Thank you.
In talking about why you have to go on with life, you said the statement, God is not finished with me yet. I wholeheartedly agree. I think that just today you have reached out to someone who has, God forbid, gone through something similar as yourself. Maybe you've spoken to someone who's teetering on the edge, or reached someone who is going to return to God and regain their faith. So there's so much more for you, for sure. And I thank you for your time today. I know this has not been easy. Forgive me for that.
Well, someday I'm going to do it without tears. Someday I'm going to do it without tears.
Well, I don't even know that that's necessary, really. But I'm just so grateful to you for being here and sharing with us.
You know, one thing that I would like to say too, in saying, like, if someone is teetering on the edge or someone is really struggling, give yourself grace. Let your shoulders down, and you don't have to have all the answers, and you can just be. I think that we expect our lives to be this big thing, and I think it's just how we react in the day. You know, like how you react to the person next to you at work. That is enough to be a great, successful life. And I think that's where we've missed the boat on. We can be enough for each other, just in the little tiny moments of life.
Amen, Maureen. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
sharing with us.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll just give it a minute here. And are you okay? Are you okay time-wise
Yes,
if we do
I'm okay.
3 more questions?
Up and I pray, and I'm thinking,
I had a lot of people praying over that interview because I was just so worried about you.
oh, well,
But
thank you. I hope that it has been, you know, what it's supposed to be.
oh, I think it will be. Thank you. Okay, well, let's just roll right in here and then I can let you go on with
Okay.
your day. All right, we have Mama Maureen with us today, and we are going to cover a couple topics that I know you're talking about. Welcome, Maureen.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. You talk about a time when you were trying to find the right educational solution for Tommy. And your comment was, our children aren't a problem to be solved with a one-size-fits-all solution. Would you mind telling us that story?
Oh, so, you know what? I think that Tommy struggled. He was a kid that flew under the radar. So he got by, but he struggled at home. Like doing homework with him, I always said I couldn't tell what he could do or what he just wouldn't do. I wasn't sure because I think he wanted so much to be able to do it. And he was so overwhelmed that he didn't. So I just thought my kids would go to the same school, go all the way through, and that would be it. Well, they started off at this little Catholic school that had just one class per grade. He had a teacher that was hard. She was probably more geared toward your gifted students, if you will. And he was going to have her the following year, too. And I was like, oh, that's not, we barely made it through this. So I started looking for some alternatives. I moved him to a public school, which was great. He did that for a couple of years. And then I moved him to a private school that I found. I toured everywhere, just trying to think and pray about what would be a good fit for him. And I found a school that taught one-on-one. So it was literally, they had an individual teacher, perhaps another person that was working on the same thing. So it was only a couple of people to one teacher. And so I was like, well, we're going to be spending his college tuition now. So that's what we did. And it ended up to be the answer to all my prayers, because what they did was they went back and they filled in the fundamentals. So he got that foundation, which he had. If you have a classroom of 25 kids, you have to keep going. You can't be sure unless you're one-on-one. But anyway, that was the answer to our prayers. And then he said, I really want to go to high school and have a normal high school. So then he went to public school, and I was like, you're doing so well here. Don't you just want to stay? And he said, I can always go back. And I thought, that's true. You can always go back. Well, we never looked back after that. So it was, I think that we want to put our kids in this box, and we want to have a nice, neat little answer for them.
Right.
And they are each their own individual people, that they all learn different ways.
They do. And I know you mentioned that you had medical professionals or educational professionals telling you something different about.
With him, I wasn't sure what we were dealing with. And so I had one person, well, we went down a whole road of medical where it was more psychological or, So we went through medications, and it was never getting better. So that's when I backed everything up and I said, could be something else. And they were like, no, I don't think there could be anything else. And I was like, I thought, I'm just going to start all over. So I did. I started all over, and it turned out that he just learned in a different way. So it actually was the way that he processed things.
Yes.
So I think that as parents, when we have a kid that struggles in whatever way, we go to people trying to get help. And I don't think they always know either. So I think that you have to just keep striving to get someone that is going to help your child to thrive. Because I used to be a teacher. So being in the classroom, it's hard managing kids, and boys are always more.
Right.
And those kids were always the ones for me as a teacher that cracked me up. Then they were challenging, but they were also funny.
Yes. Well, I know you said that you always assumed that people knew a lot more than you. I see this with parents, and I understand it, but it's frustrating to me because parents know their kids. Apart from adoption, you've carried your child for 10 months, you've given birth to them, You've been with them most of your waking hours up to whatever challenge you're facing. I think it's important for parents to feel empowered that you know your kid best. This is such a great example of that, of even despite feeling how you did, that maybe you didn't have the answer, you went ahead and kept pressing forward and found the right solution. You advocated on behalf of your child. It's a great story.
Well, I think that we want things to be easy. And
Mhm.
so I think that we want someone else to solve that problem for us.
Mhm.
And I think that's your job when you sign up for parent.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think too often we farm things out that are hard. And I wish I had realized that sooner.
Mhm.
If it's hard, it's okay. It's okay. And having other people that are traveling that road, I think other parents are helpful because I think if you see other parents that are struggling too, that is helpful to see what works for them, what doesn't work for them. Because I do think a lot of times the professionals come in, they go to school or whatever. I don't know that they necessarily have the day-to-day stuff that other parents can help each other. It's just like what we were talking about before with grief or with anything else. It's like if you can find someone who is in a similar situation, you can gain so much more knowledge or so much more understanding and applying those things to your own life.
Right. Well said. Okay. Couple more. The parents get to the point, I think this is universal, where they have their first child, they're thinking about a second, and they just think, I don't know if I have enough love to go around for a new child. How do you respond to that?
Well, I think when I did have my first child, and I always say this to new parents, did you have any idea how much your mother loves you until you had your own child? I had no idea there was that type of love. I worried about when I had my second child that I would have to divide. I thought that my time and my love would divide, but it doesn't. It's so weird. It's like it just multiplies. So it's like you had one heart, now you have two. I have
Right.
three. So
Okay. And something we've been talking about, talking amongst the mamas, is the falling birth rates in the news. People are having fewer children. They're waiting later in life. And yet you made the comment, everyone I know holds their children to be their most treasured
without
gifts.
question.
I love that.
Well, it's so sad to me that people are willingly missing out on what is, I know a lot of people who've had difficulties with their children, for sure. But I don't know anyone that regrets it because that is the most important. I mean, everyone I know, their lives revolve around their kids' lives. I mean, it's so strange.
But for it, I agree with you. But for those people who, if they don't have kids, I don't know. I hear this every single week, Maureen, where someone has decided, I'm not going to have kids, or it's a mother whose kids have made that decision. And they either think that their career is the most important thing, or they're not willing to sacrifice what is required to raise kids. I mean, for somebody with kids like us, it seems crazy, but how would you convince them otherwise?
I think that there is, for me, I'm getting ready to celebrate 33 years of marriage. And I know a lot of people who have gone through divorces. And I totally understand. You can't do marriage for two people. You have to have two people who are willing to be married.
Sure.
But I think that for me, it's like a team. We are a team. We have built this life together. And I think that is so rewarding. Having someone to help you create this life, you have a built-in roommate and a built-in partner to help shoulder everything. To me, marriage has been a real blessing for me. And kid, I mean, just becoming a family was awesome. It was challenging for sure, but it was great. I don't think that either of us ever thought for a second, like, we shouldn't have done that.
Right. Okay, great. Well, thank you for sharing your wisdom with us today, Maureen. We appreciate having
You're
you
welcome.
here.
Thank you very much for having me.